Hey guys, Wayne here from H2 Tech Videos. Today we're doing a quick spec comparison between the new Moto G7 Power and the LG Stylo 4. Let's jump in and see which one has the better specs. Alright, so we always start with software, and the Stylo 4 did come out last year, so it's not a surprise that the G7 Power does have a slightly newer software with Android 9 Pie, so it does win the software category. Screen wise, they're both a 6.2 inches in terms of screen size, but the aspect ratios are slightly different. The G7 Power is a 19:9 ratio, whereas Stylo 4 is an 18:9 ratio. So it's a little bit wider, and the G7 Power is a little bit taller. That's kind of how you can decipher those two. When it comes to camera, so they both have really decent cameras. Stylo 4 does have a 5 megapixel front, 13 megapixel rear. G7 has an 8 megapixel front with a 12 megapixel rear. Now I gave it to the G7 Power simply because having a better front camera, to me, I think makes a little bit more difference. Since a lot of people take selfies, they want that front camera to be good and take quality pictures. So I think most people would care more about the front camera having a higher pixel than the rear camera being one extra pixel. So that's why we picked the G7 for that one. When it comes to the storage, they both have literally almost the exact amount of storage. So I gave it to the G7 Power on principle because it's 21 gigs of user storage after the 32. Stylo 4 is 20.9. So technically they're really the same. Just to explain this a little bit more, so all phones will always advertise a certain amount of storage. However, the main number they give you does not take into account the operating system. So this is why Stylo 4, for example, has 32 gigs of total internal storage, but really they only have 21.9 gigs that you are able to use for your own personal files because the operating system takes up the rest. So it's something I started to look at recently because the phones can be rather misleading. You'll think you have a lot more storage than you do, so we always like to look at what is the user available storage after the operating system has been installed and the app to come on the phone as well. Now, in terms of expanding the storage, now the Stylo 4 you can go up to a 2 terabyte memory card, whereas the G7 Power can only go up to a 512. So that is an advantage Stylo 4 still has. You can put a larger memory card inside, so that does give them a slight edge. Battery wise, the G7 Power blows Stylo 4 out of the water with a 5,000 milliamp battery. Now, on Moto's website, they advertise that your phone will last up to 3 days, which is insane. Definitely makes me want to take this phone for a spin to really see how long it really would last. But to make a claim that you could last up to 3 days is pretty insane. So that just tells you how much battery you're going to have, and you should be able to get through a full day no problem. So, but that's the claim. We'll have to try it out to see if it's true. Processor wise, they're both in a 1.8 gigahertz octa-core processor. However, the G7 does have 3 gigs of RAM versus Stylo 4's 2, so they do win in that category. And then finally we go to the extras. This is where the phones really begin to separate themselves. Well, can't really say too much because they both do have facial recognition, they both have fingerprint scanner, they both have their own version of fast charging. But on the G7 Power, they have what's called turbo power charging, which is 15 minutes will get you 9 hours of charge, or 9 hours of use, which is pretty insane. That is really insane. 15 minutes. So if you forgot to charge your phone overnight and you woke up and you plugged in your phone while you got dressed, you would have 9+ hours of battery when you walked out the door, assuming it took you 15 minutes or more to get ready. So that's pretty crazy. I definitely wanted to highlight that. I think that's a big selling point of this phone. Now, Stylo 4 does have the S Pen, the stylus pen, which is a very unique feature to this phone that you don't get on the G7. So if you have had stylus in the past and you use that pen, that might be a big swaying factor of why you would stay with the Stylo 4. However, if you're more excited about that battery, that 5,000 milliamp battery, and the better front camera, then that's where the G7 will probably slightly outshine the Stylo 4. So hope you guys did find this helpful. Make sure you like, favorite, and share if it was helpful. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one.